Hey peeps.
David?
Stream is now live on YouTube. Yeah.
Monkey lips.
Okay, just 1 second, guys. Getting... Hi, I think we're live. And I had to do a couple things here because I didn't.
Yeah, here I'm fixing my bra strap.
Okay, let's see if we got Mom on here. Okay, there's Mom and her smiling face.
Huh.
Okay.
Hold on, one last thing. Let me open.
So, if you're here on YouTube, please let me know somehow in the comments with the Heidi Ho. How are you? And lost my chat. There's my chat.
Can they hear us today?
Well, not yet. Nobody's on. Okay.
98. Yeah, they can.
Okay, and we're live on Facebook. So, because we're live on Facebook, we're going to go for it. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear us, please.
Dave said hi from the couch last video, so
Yeah.
see ya.
Can you close that door, Dave?
Oh yeah. Bye.
Can you hear me, guys? Are we coming in okay? See, Mom. Having a nose itching problem. Okay, so I'm going to be moderating comments and answering the telephone. Hold on, it's Grandma. Hello?
We're going to do ironing.
No. Can we call? No, she didn't. Okay.
Grandma's the one that should be doing this. We're doing ironing today.
Okay.
Show you how to iron a shirt and pants. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Good. Let's see. Okay, hello everyone. Hello, Pia. Is this the same Pia that lived with us? If it is, how cool.
Hi, Pia.
I was in Sweden and stayed with an exchange student named Pia. It was fun after I graduated high school. Okay, so today Mom is showing how to iron. I am going to be moderating comments.
And before we lose everybody who hates to iron, I'm going to have tips for those who hate to iron.
Yes, so please don't hang up because she's going to show you what to do if you're like me and you wonder what is the point of ironing.
And also, I'm going to be showing this. I know the way we have the cameras, it might be a little bit harder to see, but if you need me to backtrack and redo something or re-explain something, just pop in and let us know. And I'll be more than glad to do that for you.
And if you have questions, please pop in with a question and I will moderate them for Mom.
Are you ready?
I am.
You are? Yes.
Okay.
You know, I know a lot of you don't like to iron, but you will at some point have to maybe iron something once in a while. If you're getting married, gentlemen, you might have to wear a shirt that day that's ironed. Your fiance would appreciate it. You know, going for a job interview, it really makes a difference. So you have to know a few basics on ironing. Now, I had a lady I did ironing for one time, and she made a very interesting comment. I know we're not supposed to judge people by the clothes they wear and how they look, but reality is you do get judged. And whether you're going to a job interview or anything else, but she said she noticed, she watched in her son's kindergarten class, the kids that were in neat clothes and their shirts pressed, it seemed like the other kids and the teachers treated them a little bit differently than the ones that were more, you know, wrinkled and dirty and scrungy. Now, that doesn't mean they weren't kind and caring towards them, but there's just a different type of respect that you kind of get when you are pulled together and a little bit neat. And I think we all have to agree with that, even though it's just human nature. We hated it that it's that way, but that's just the way it is. So, you know, if you can iron stuff, please start learning how, you know, try to iron a few things. To start out with...
Hold on just a second. So Chris says, got to dig my ironing board out from underneath all that stuff piled. So here's what you do. If you need to iron but you don't, set it up while you're watching TV.
Yes.
And it makes it more pleasant.
Makes it easier if you do.
Seriously.
Really, that's what you do. I used to always do that. As a matter of fact, when I iron, I don't stand. This is going to feel very awkward for me because I do not iron standing up. I have a tall stool, and then sometimes I use a shorter chair, and I sit down and iron, and I watch TV or watch videos or something like that. It's not, and I even enjoy ironing, so it helps. So one thing too, this is going to take us more than 15 minutes, isn't it? One thing too, I found out something. I took in ironing, so I had to do it a lot. I would iron about the time the kids came home from school, and some of their friends would come home with them. I made sure I had the ironing board set up with clothes and a chair to sit on. If I'm looking, I apologize. I'm looking at Tara to see if she's telling me I'm doing something weird.
No,
So but anyway, I set everything up, set my chair, and started ironing right before the kids came home from school because I noticed something interesting. They would run in, flop down. I made sure I had a chair or two in the same area where I was ironing. They would flop down in those chairs and they would start talking and telling me about their day at school. And they would sit there for 15, 20 minutes yakking at me, and I would be ironing the whole time. And they had my attention, but yet at the same time, I was getting something, done at the multitasking type of thing. It went faster for me, and they didn't seem to mind. Did you mind? I don't think you minded that I was ironing. So think of things like that. If you do hate doing the ironing, it'll encourage you to get it done more often. Now, I want to go, before you even start ironing, though, I'm going to give you a couple of tips to make your life easier. Always take your shirts or whatever you're going to iron and hang them on a hanger as soon as they come out of the dryer. If they come off of the line, pull them off the line. When you hang clothes on a line, turn the shirts upside down by their bottoms, turn the pants up and hang them by the leg bottoms, and let the waist hang down because the water will pull the weight down and it'll pull a lot of wrinkles out when you hang them on the line. So like I said, hang them on a hanger when they come out of the dryer, and I'll show you the difference. This here, let's see here. This shirt was hanging, I don't know if they can tell or not, Tara. Can you hold it up maybe? This shirt here was, I don't know, were you doing something?
Yeah, just like I was commenting. Okay, what's the problem?
Okay, this shirt here I hung up, I don't know if you guys can see
Oh
it.
yeah, they can see. Yeah.
Okay, I hung this shirt up as soon as it came out of the dryer, and it has a few wrinkles. As a matter of fact, here, I kind of ironed this sleeve. So you can see the difference between that sleeve. It does make a difference when you iron, Some types of fabric you can tell more so. But this was hung up on a hanger right away. Now this here shirt, to show you the difference, was wadded. Can you see all the extra wrinkles in that?
Debbie says she thought taking him out of the dryer was ironing.
Well, that is, yes. But you can see all the extra wrinkles, and this was only wadded. I only wadded this up for like 15 minutes. If this had laid in a laundry basket for 2 weeks, you can imagine what the wrinkles would look like. As a matter of fact, when I took in ironing, I would take nobody's ironing that didn't have them on hangers, because it took me that much longer to iron the ones that were in a laundry basket wadded up. I timed it one time. It took anywhere from 2 to 3 times as long. People don't do housekeeping skills sometimes just because it is a hard job. They make it harder than it needs to be. So I try to teach how to make it fast and easy so you can get these things done and then do the other things that you want to do, because some of this stuff, it's a fact of life. It has to be done, so do it as fast and easy as you can, or learn how to do it as fast and easy as you can. Now, I will start, let me tell you though, get the basics, because some of you don't, maybe even, like, was it Debbie that did it in the dryer? Don't even own an iron. So my favorite iron in the whole wide world is a Sunbeam. A medium priced, not the cheapest, but a medium priced Sunbeam. And this one had, we had a problem with it. It's not dirt on here. We just scraped it and had a problem with it. But they work the best. They iron the best. Rowenta is out there. Everybody swears by their Rowenta. I have had 4 Rowenta irons. And I've had a lot of the cheaper irons. They do not work as well as the Sunbeams. And I've had I usually get brand new irons, so it isn't because there was something wrong with them. The thing is, I think people buy a cheapy, inexpensive iron, and then they buy a Rowenta that's a little bit more expensive, and it works, and it does work better than a cheapy iron. But it doesn't work as well as the Sunbeam. So I really highly recommend Sunbeam. I'm not getting an endorsement, I don't think, from Sunbeam or anything like that, but I do like the Sunbeam iron. Then for an ironing board, try to make sure, now Taurus is wobbling to ever so slightly, but we're on carpet and it's not a really good spot to have this. But try to get a good sturdy ironing board. You don't need the most expensive, just as long as it's sturdy. I also put padding. We have on here, I think we have old burp rags, diapers, old diapers underneath this, and a towel. You can use old towels. I have chunks of batting, quilting batting I can put underneath mine. And the thicker you make it, the better it is. Because a lot of them have, like this one I can feel has holes in the middle of the ironing board to let the steam come through. But that'll leave an imprint. Plus the things iron better on the more padded surface. So make sure your ironing board surface is well padded. As far as the cover goes on the ironing board, this one here is 100% cotton. I have a cotton one on mine now. I kind of prefer the silver ones. I'm not sure why, but it seems like maybe it reflects the heat. There's just something about them that they seem to do just slightly better, but it's not enough that if you have a cotton one, stick with the cotton one and do that. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to touch on is Starches. Now we have a book, right, on laundry, and we go into extreme detail. I mean, we have a paragraph on almost everything, like from spray starches, what's the difference between sizing, spray starches, and we have really good pictures on how to iron each section of a shirt or pants or whatever. So if you need something more, we do go through details in there. Now, I didn't have any sizing, but I don't use sizing very often. Let me explain the difference. Sizing, like magic sizing, if you have a shirt that's very flimsy, I was looking around to see if I happen to have one, but I don't. Really, what do I want? Gauzy-like material, and you just want that to have a little more body so it doesn't wrinkle the minute you do anything with it. Use the sizing. It strengthens the fabric. I'm not even sure the words I want. Excuse me, my chronic fatigue is totally kicked in today, so I can't think straight. But it just gives a little more body to the fabric. So you want to use that then. If you want a little bit crisper and stiffer, not really, I hate to use the word stiff because it's not really stitch and scratchy like, but just a little firmer, use the regular spray starch. I love Thoughtless, and I've used it for years. I've tried other ones. Do not use, you quilters and sewers, I hate to use name brands, but they have special quilting starch out there you can buy. Expensive.
Starts with an M.
Starts with an M and an E, and it's very expensive. It's like 8 times, 10 times the amount of a can of regular spray starch. There is no difference between this $1.50 can or whatever compared to their $8, $9 can, and you get even more. So don't in this can. So don't use those types of things if you can get by. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to use those. Now, also, for a while, I couldn't buy spray starch. I didn't have the money to buy the starch. So I used just good old-fashioned water. It does an excellent job. It crisps up the shirt, makes it look, gets rid of all the wrinkles, and it makes it look really, really nice. The only thing about the water is after you wear it, the spray starch keeps it crisp longer, where the water, you will after a while it start wrinkling a little bit faster, but I still love using water. And I usually use spray starch and the water a lot when I really want something to iron easily. Now, I just discovered something about 6 months ago, and I am just so excited, and Tara had none in her house, so I can't totally show you, but I started taking a bottle of water. This size, I would probably put about 3 tablespoons in of fabric softener, Downy fabric softener, and I put 2 to 3 tablespoons in a bottle. This is 32-ounce bottle, and I would put the fabric softener in there with the water, and I would use it to get rid of the wrinkles. It's amazing. For those of you who hate to iron, use that. If you spray it on, and like
Basically,
I said,
it's just the wrinkle release.
it is. It's
cheap.
wrinkle
Yeah,
release.
it's
Homemade.
cheap wrinkle.
Yeah, it's homemade wrinkle release is what it is. And you just spray it on, and then you just kind of give a tug in the area where the wrinkle is and leave it hanging. That'll get rid of a lot of wrinkles for you. And so if you hate ironing, that will help a lot. For you quilters and sewers out there, if you have fabric that's come off the bolt and sometimes it has that hard line where it was folded on the bolt, use this fabric softener spray on it. It'll get that line out much faster and easier. And I just thought, oh, if you are hemming kids' jeans and you're letting them down, sometimes you have that crease from the hemline. If you use this on there, the fabric softener, it'll help get rid of that line. Better than vinegar. I've used vinegar before, and this works just 10 times better. As a matter of fact, I've yet to find anything that works as good as the fabric softener. Alrighty, now we get to do the fun part that everybody's been waiting for. And like I said, stop me if I'm going too fast. Or
Does anybody have any questions right now before she gets started showing the actual ironing about boards or irons or
anything?
Yeah, what is, Charlene says, what is an iron?
What is an
Well,
iron?
it's this thing that you try not to hit your husband over the head with when you're hacked at him. All right, I guess no questions.
No questions. Okay.
We're done.
And like I say, try sitting down when you iron,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're like us and don't feel good. You'd be amazed how much less tiring it is to do that. All right, always start with, I'm going to do a shirt, dress shirt. Always start with the parts of the shirt.
Hold on just a second. Chris, I can't tell if it's Chrissy, said for lack of funds, could you use cornstarch mixed with water for starch?
You maybe could, but you know what I would do in that case? I would just use the straight water. The straight water works so much better than people realize, and it keeps it looking nice. So instead of mixing or anything like that, I would just use straight water.
And then Kristen says, do you use starch? Yes, she does. And Kimberly says, how do you keep your iron from sputtering all over?
Make sure it's good and hot before you start. A lot of people are in a hurry. They turn it on, and then they think it's ready, and it's not quite ready. So make sure it's good and hot. Another thing is, that's why I like the Sunbeam. The Rowenta and all the cheaper irons always sputter on me. Mm-hmm. It seemed like. So the Sunbeam, I really like it the best.
Yeah, and Jennifer said, Kimberly, you might need to clean your iron. Yes, sometimes you get a hard water buildup, and it can cause that a little bit.
Yeah. You need to clean your iron. Some irons you can run vinegar through them. Some irons you can't. You have to look at your manufacturer's instructions for those. Yeah. And that's another thing, to clean off the sole plate of the iron. It's a little tiny tube. It comes in a little tube, and they sell it right there by irons. Sometimes they have them where they sell the spray starches. It's hanging on a little thing, and it's like a little, what do you want to call it, toothpaste type tube stuff. And I use that. You rub it on the bottom. It gives instructions on how to use it. It's Faultless, made by Faultless. And you rub that on the bottom. That works really good. Another thing is sometimes just a lightweight scrubby pad.
Yeah.
Like if you have a Teflon pan, you could treat the bottom of your iron like a Teflon pan and use a little scrubby pan or thing. And sometimes you can run it over. If your iron is not sliding well, it's like you dragging. I hate an iron that drags. It slows you down so much. Get rid of that iron if it does. But you can run it across a sheet of wax paper if the iron's dragging on you, and that will help you get a little more oomph. And just use soap and water. Try the soap and water with a little scrubby pad first. then use the little tube of Faultless. I try to do the least you have to go out and buy first of all, and if that doesn't work, then buy your little tubes.
Guys,
of
I'm working on getting a link here for you so you can see what it is.
Mm-hmm. We'll put it up there.
Yeah, we do get a small commission if you click on these through Amazon and buy them, but we mostly do it so that you can actually see what we're talking about. Because
Tara never cleans her iron, so she doesn't have any. No, I'm teasing.
That's because I never use it.
Yeah, that's true.
So
this will help give you some ideas. It's easier to show you than to always explain. Do you want me to start while you're doing that? Can I start?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So always start with the part of the shirt that will wrinkle the least, because if I iron the body of the shirt and then I iron a sleeve and then I roll it over and iron the collar, the body's going to be wrinkled again by the time I get to the collar. So I start with the part of the shirt that wrinkles the least, which will be the collar. Now, for you ironers, you can iron the back of the collar. And for some collars, it's going to, my iron's gone out. Ooh, it died on me. Sorry about that. So I'm going to be sputtering, huh?
You mean it's like totally dead?
No, not totally
dead.
It just got
I thought it was like totally dead.
No. But I don't always iron the back of it. I do sometimes, and sometimes I don't. It depends on if I really want the shirt done well. But my everyday clothes, I won't do that.
Excuse me. Julie said I have a blouse with oil on it. How do I get it out? I use Shout grease spray, and that works for me. What do you use? Or do you?
I think it's Shout that I use.
Yeah, I use the Shout.
Sometimes putting like cornstarch or talcum powder, that will absorb some of the oil, and then use the Shout if it's really bad.
I'll see if I can find the one that I use, because
I use the Shout, yeah.
Oh, yeah, here's the one. Okay, let me put a link, and I'll show you the one that I use.
You use the orange can. I don't use that. See, I use the opposite of what you do.
See, I think the orange can works better.
Yeah, and I think the others. So, try them and see. Let's see, who has the cleanest clothes, huh?
I do.
Now, this iron might sputter because I didn't let it set really long, but we'll see. But for those of you that hate ironing, don't iron the back of the collar. That'll save you one step. Then I iron the front of the collar. Now, sometimes you'll get puckers and wrinkles on the collar when you're ironing it. So to avoid that, come in from this direction and then iron in from the opposite direction. And that'll help, that'll help avoid those wrinkles. If you just go this way alone, you'll pucker at one end, and this helps. Now, I've got, this here is for non-ironers. That's all you have to do if you're a non-ironer. Just iron it that one way. If you want something extra special, you fold the collar down and you iron it this way. Now, here's something to think about. Sometimes if you always press these shirts down like this, I don't always do that. I leave mine unpressed half the time. This will break down the shirt collar and wear it faster if you do that. But a lot of men, it looks neater and they kind of need that, so you just have to kind of feel out your shirt that you're doing. So there I have the shirt collar done. Then I move on to the sleeves, is what I do next. I open up the cuffs and I just iron down the cuffs. If I'm going to turn my cuff up, what I'll do is I'll iron the inside of the cuff first and then the outside. But these men's shirts, I don't worry about that much. Now on this one, there's this seam that you have at the bottom of the sleeve. That has to go to the back. Now this is really crucial. I'm going to spray this with my spray starch. I will spray it one section at a time. Sometimes when I iron, sometimes I'll spray the whole shirt with the spray starch first and then start my ironing. And like I said, it makes no difference. But always, always spray the starch on, then smooth the sleeve out. and make sure you get all the wrinkles. Why I do it this way, if you get flakes from the spray starch on your shirt or whatever you're ironing, and you get these white flakes from the starch, it's because you've sprayed it and then just start ironing. When you push the wrinkles out, you're rubbing that starch you're pushing the wrinkles out and pressing that starch down into the fibers of the fabric. That way the starch isn't sitting on top of the fabric, it's going down into it, and you won't get the white flecks. Now, one more thing. I may get wrinkles in this. I'm not going to take time, waste your time having you watch me try to get some wrinkles out if I accidentally iron them in. But make sure you can feel there's no, if there's any wrinkles on the underneath side. Now, this is one place people shy away from. I've got a thick, heavy seam, and I'm getting that seam with the tip of my iron. Don't be afraid of those seams. Don't leave them unironed. Make sure you iron them. And like I say, this is not going to be the perfect ironing job. And here's where the cuff, the buttons underneath, I can feel it, and I'm just carefully going over it and kitting it. I believe it's not set, but I kind of press and hold along so it has a nice crease. Then I'll flip it over to the other side, and I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera, but there's that thick seam line that I was talking about that always goes to the back. Once again, I put my starch on and I watch it now. I have a crease here. Don't just start ironing. Make sure you don't iron a second crease in up here. It happens quite a bit. Watch me do it today.
So Valina said that as a teenager, she used to do ironing for a friend, and her son was killed in a tornado, and now when she irons, she always prays for that family. That's a really good tip that is like an old grandma type of tip. But
I do that all the time. Especially whoever's shirt I'm ironing, I will pray for that person.
Yeah.
So
pray as you're doing whoever's shirt, then pray for whatever that person needs at this time.
Yeah, I think that's why I like ironing, because that's my time to think about things. I don't know what you call it, meditation. I hate to call it meditation, but just that I think things through, figure out what I'm going to have for dinner, and it's just that type of thing. Now, I did okay. See, there's no double line on here, and that's the only thing you need to watch for on the shirt. Now, do you want me to do both sleeves, Tara?
Yeah, go ahead. Guys, is this helping? Give us a thumbs up if you think it's helping.
Or if I'm not explaining it well enough, or...
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? No questions yet.
No questions. Okay, I hope that's a good sign because we're explaining it well. Now, I'm not going to do this one perfect and fluff and worry about it. I'm just going to get it. Another thing about ironing, pull. You see how I'm using this hand to pull these wrinkles and pull on it as I go? You've got to use both hands to make sure the pulling part really does help you with the ironing.
So we're getting thumbs up on YouTube. Thank you, everyone.
Flip this over, do this next side. I didn't do the cuffs on this. Like I said, this is the second sleeve. I'm not really doing it.
Lily says she doesn't even own an ironing board, but she owns an iron. Well, you kind of need both.
Well,
you can.
You can't. You can iron without an ironing board. What I did for not a long time, but I have done before, is you lay a thick towel or 2 towels onto. Yeah, that's what I'm stopping. You lay a thick towel, like maybe 2 towels, on your table or your countertop. And then you can use that. See, it would be a surface just like this. And it's not quite as easy to get into some of the corners, but it's doable. I've done it before. I've done it in a hotel room where I haven't had an ironing board. I put thick towels down. So you don't need to buy, as long as you have an iron, you can do.
Catherine's asking, how did you do the pleats on the sleeve?
The pleats, I don't worry over them too much. You mean like these little pleats here? See, I didn't really even... This one here automatically came down, and so I just kind of take the point of the iron is your friend and use it. So I just kind of go up like that. I don't stress over it as long as I don't wrinkle it worse. And as you can see, it doesn't look too bad. It really doesn't.
Okay, got that
Okay.
question. Yep.
Now, the sleeves are done. So now I'm moving on and I'm doing the yoke. Also, I don't know if anybody's noticed, I'm using the big wide end. I'm not using the little tiny end. And why I do this, I have more surface space. I have to keep moving and moving things, and I move it like twice as much when I'm using the little narrow end as I do with the big end. There's nothing to say you can't use this big end. If you have children's clothes, and if you're a very small woman, you might want to use the narrow end because you can fit their clothes better on the little end. But for somebody my size or a man, and up, this works pretty good. Now I do the yolks next. I just spray it up.
Oh, so Cece says on YouTube, I never had anyone teach me any of these things. I'm so thankful. Recently, I'm going through very hard times, and this is very helpful. Yay! Well, that's
Good.
kind of what we're wanting
Yeah.
to do, is to show people how to do regular, everyday things that the generation between the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s really hasn't been taught. And the 2000s, I guess. Wow, I can't believe I forgot the 2000s. Oh my, old. So, from the 70s to the 2000s, we've had so many working women that moms just don't stay home to teach these. And that's what we're kind of, moms wanting to try to show people how to do these things. Carla says, do you ever iron without water in the iron?
Oh, you can, yes. What the steam does, it relaxes the wrinkles faster. And sometimes the steam won't work. I'll break an iron. I can't afford to get another one. So what I do is I use the spray bottle with water, but you can definitely do without. Now, where I use a dry iron a lot is if I hang my stuff on the line and they're partially damp, I will bring them in straight off the line and iron them partially damp, and I will use a dry iron then. So now I've got the front part of the yoke done, and now I'm moving over to the back section of the yoke. And just keep spraying and going. Now here again are the bulky French seams that's in these shirts. Take the nose of your iron and hit those seams. And I keep saying that, I know, because people are just afraid to do those for some reason. Then I just slide it around to the next section, pulling. I hope I'm not going too fast for you. I'm so used to doing this, I will tend to. Okay, here's another tip for people who hate to iron. I will take and, let me get this here, right there. I'm not able to talk and do today. I always automatically go in between these buttons without even thinking. You don't have to. Those buttons are going to be covered up. So if you don't want to go in between those buttons, then shorten your ironing time and don't do that. Now then, I don't know if you noticed, I had it on here, I ironed this, then I just automatically slide this around to this direction. I say this because all these motions make the ironing go faster, easier, and you can get it done. I think people hate doing some of these homemaking things because they never learned how to do them right to make them easy and faster. And so you dread doing them, and I would dread doing them if I didn't know how to do them because it just takes you longer. And we get frustrated when we don't know how to do something and we try to do it and it's not working right, then we just give up and quit and say we don't want to do it. But if you can learn how to do something and practice, now you may not get this down pat the first time or two that you do it, but if you keep practicing, you'll get faster and better. People forget to keep practicing because I always use my gingerbread story. I made gingerbread men one day, and it took me about 4 hours to make 6 gingerbread men. I was so frustrated at the end of the day. I thought, never, ever again am I going to make gingerbread men. Well, now I'm moving it in here to this side seam. And you just keep moving it along for as much as you have.
So sorry to interrupt here, but Mindy said, do I want to know how to fold sheets? You are talking to the queen of How to Fold a Fitted Sheet, over 14 million views. This is Jill Cooper of How to Fold a Fitted Sheet. So I put the link on there for you, Mindy. We had that video go viral a couple of years ago. It was absolutely crazy. And now we're up to 14 million views, and Mom is known as the How to Fold a Fitted Sheet Queen. So anyway, back to Gingerbread Man and never going to make them again.
So I was never going to make them again. Well, fast forward a few years, I had no money for Christmas or anything, and so I was going to give out gingerbread. I thought I'll try Gingerbread Man again and see if I can't give him for a Christmas present. Now I'm just ironing the back of the shirt. This has darts in it. It might be a little bit harder, but you can still do it. Just take your time, and I'm making sure I'm pressing down the seam across the yoke really well. And so I made up a few gingerbread men, did a little bit better this time, and gave them away. And my friend loved them so much, she said, "Can I buy some from you?" And I said, "Well, I guess so, because I needed the money." And I said, "Yeah." And so I started, she bought some, her friend bought some, and I started making more of these boogers. Well, fast forward to just the past couple of years, I make now from anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 gingerbread men that I sell every year before Christmas. So here I go from, I hated doing this, and now I can bake and decorate gingerbread men in my sleep, and it doesn't seem like a big deal to do them at all. What I'm saying is, practice it. The more you do something, the easier it gets, and you don't hate doing it. I actually love doing gingerbread men now.
And she makes like literally 600 dozen. That's like 6,000 cookies every Christmas.
5,000, yeah.
So yeah. So Jenny, or let's start with Catherine. Catherine wants to know: do you iron your sheets?
No. You know, when I ironed everything. My kids' pajamas when they were babies, I ironed their pajamas. I ironed T-shirts. I ironed pillowcases, my dish towel. I ironed everything. And when my second baby came along, we lived in a house that had no kitchen. I was, washing dishes in the bathtub. I had the stove in another room, the refrigerator, and it was just a nightmare with a toddler and a bit newborn. And I finally figured out I could not keep it up. So I don't do the pajamas. I do iron pillowcases. I've never ironed sheets, though, because my sheets have never been that wrinkled, because I fold them.
Well,
I know how to fold a fitted sheet, so they've never been wrinkled.
Now, nowadays it's a lot easier because the cotton is a lot better. It used to be sheets were really, really stiff, so they had no choice to iron them.
Yeah.
Okay. Jenny wants to know what's good to practice on ironing.
Oh, perfect. Well, I don't know if we have a lot of them now. If you have some dish towels, if they're terry cloth, of course you can't. But if they're like the linen type, feed sack type, you can practice anything square and flat.
Dish towels.
Pillowcases are fun to do. Hankies, if your husband carries, not many people carry hankies anymore, so I can't think, but anything that's kind of flat. T-shirts, I started to grab your T-shirt. T-shirts are, well, I don't know if that's so easy to practice on. I lay T-shirts just flat and iron them, but they kind of move and twist, so that wouldn't be really, but anything that's kind of flat, if you can find something.
Ethel wants to know how to get out deep wrinkles.
The fabric softener in the water, that's the only thing I found that works. Sometimes if you do the spray starch, it'll help. But I like the fabric, that's what I liked about the fabric softener water. Now, another thing on the spray starch, if you want something much stiffer and you need it much crisper, don't get heavy on this and think if I really saturate it, it's going to do it. You're just going to spend a lot more time ironing, trying to get that shirt dry. What you need to do is put a light coat, iron it, put another light coat, and iron it, and that's still easier than putting a heavy amount.
Ruth said that one of the reasons why she hates dreading ironing.
Shirt's done.
Oh yeah, show the shirt. So Ruth said she hates to iron, but she never knew how. That's why we're showing this, because the more you practice, the more you do. So show the shirt. Did you show the shirt properly?
I did show it.
Okay.
Did I show
was
it
yakking.
properly?
I don't know. Did you
Okay.
guys see? This is the iron shirt, totally finished. How much did you charge for ironing?
Let's see. I charged, well, it just depended on what I was. I think it was like 75 cents a shirt, and then $1.25 for pants. Is what I did.
Ruth wants to know.
But if you need to know, call dry cleaners. Ask them, and then maybe cut it by about a quarter or a little bit less than what they do.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Ruth said, can you give any suggestions for ironing really long curtain panels? Mine always wrinkle where I've already ironed.
Okay, that is kind of hard. What you might try to do is iron them, hang them up, and then you can use your iron in an upright position and press the, what is this, steam button? Yeah, the steam button thing, and kind of pull it taut on the bottom and steam like you would use a regular steamer.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go on to show how to iron pants.
Okay, I do pants in a couple of different ways. With little kids and my not-so-dress pants, just jeans or something like that, my everyday jeans, I will lay them on the ironing board flat and iron them like this. I'm just showing because I only have one pair of pants, and then flip them over and iron the back. But for men's pants, and this is a smaller pair, so I don't know if this will work, I put them on the end of the ironing board. And for pants, I don't use the starch always. These are lighter color. I might think about doing the spray starch on them. But usually with jeans and men's pants, I just use the spray bottle and do them that way. This one has pleats. Careful of the nylon zippers. Don't go anywhere nylon zipper with your iron. But you can iron over metal zippers. But be just careful of that.
You will melt it. That's why.
Yes, you will melt it. So here's a pleat in this pant. So I'm just kind of pulling that pleat. And you've got to just kind of pull it. Here's another pleat. I don't stress over these pleats too much. I just kind of go in there and get them.
So Refume Homestead said, we use bandanas as cloth napkins, and although I don't iron them, they're good to practice. Yeah,
they'd be perfect to practice. Mm-hmm. Scarves, something other than a cotton scarf of some sort. Try a different direction. See, I was ironing this pleat from this direction. That worked fine. So then I switched the iron around and went this direction. Here on the pocket where the seam is, you've got to really pull that taut. Otherwise, that'll wrinkle and pucker on there. Another thing I forgot to mention, sometimes pockets on pants get really bundled up in the wash. So just pull them out. This one isn't. See, these are fine. But just pull that pocket out and iron that first. And then start your iron. Now I just move to the next section of the pants back here. And this may be confusing. I'm left-handed, everybody, so I hope you can translate that.
Then, let's see. Jay Lee says, thanks so much for these tips. I'm the world's worst ironer. Jill, you remind me of how carefully and patiently my mom would iron everything beautifully when I was a kid. Yeah. And I think it was Susan. Let's see. Was it Susan? She said, yeah, Susan. My sister actually used to iron her undies. I'm not kidding. Okay, your sister needs help. Well, whatever floats your boat. I mean, if you're that excited about ironing, then I said go for it.
But now, of course, I don't think your sister's that old, but years and years ago, people don't realize they would hang things out on the line. They didn't have fabric softeners. They had
or dryers.
Or good soap, softening soap. And they didn't have dryers, and they'd hang them out, and the cotton was horrible. It was really stiff, like a board. So they'd have to actually iron their things in order for them to be comfortable to wear. Otherwise, they'd really scratch and hurt you. The wrinkles would be so harsh.
That's why they ironed everything, because the cotton, we were just talking about this with my kids the other day. That's funny. The cotton was so incredibly stiff that, I mean, you would have these like mountainous ridges in your bed if you didn't iron them, and it would hurt. I mean, it really would hurt.
Now I'm getting ready to do the legs. I did some like the kids' jeans. Same way with the pants. For the kids' jeans or my everyday jeans, I will lay them flat like this and just iron the leg down this way, and then flip it over and iron the leg down this way. But these are more dress pants, and they need a crease down the center. So what I'm doing
is slow. So
what I'm doing is the inner seam of the leg. I put those two together,
Okay, do that one more time.
Can you see the
Can
inner
you guys
seam?
see how she's taking the inner
The inner
seams and putting them together to make the crease? Okay.
And then I take the outer seam of the leg and bring it up to the inner seam, and this other outer. Does that make sense? And is that confusing, you guys? So now I have this.
Turn it around so they can see too.
See?
So that's how you get your pants
see?
together to make your seam.
One thing to be careful, like these pants have been ironed with a crease in them, so I've got to make sure I get this crease kind of together too, because otherwise I'll have a really bad double crease. Now, once I get into that part, I lay the whole thing on the ironing board. And thank goodness he doesn't have longer legs.
Catherine says, awesome tutorial. Yay, thank you.
Now, I pick up the top leg, and I just pulled it down there. You can feel, I wish I could show you better, but you can feel where this top seam and this bottom seam underneath, the seam underneath here.
On this one.
You can feel how these are laying together. These pretty much are together, but sometimes they get off kilter, so I kind of pull them over until they're even. I can feel that seam. I also have to watch if somebody's ironed them other than me and had it gotten off whack. But if there's a seam line over here, a crease line, I mean, now that I've got, okay, I'm going to spray.
So, Rough Hewn Homestead says, oh, that's how you make the crease. Yep.
Now, see, this is going to be off whack because I didn't iron these pants, and so the seam's a little bit off. But I'm working the water in, or the starch, whichever I'm using, and making sure all these edges are clear, lined up, and the seam is lined up. And then you press. You get all the way up here in the crotch part, up in that area. Don't shy away from the centered seam. Press right on top of that. And I kind of go out. I gently go out. Don't be afraid to run over the hem and press down to make sure that gets secure. And then I go the other direction and kind of go out gently, making sure this crease is lining up here. If I have to, I will pull the fabric over a little bit and just press this. You can't maybe tell, but I'm pressing a little bit harder down with this iron on the seam crease line. And now I have the one side of this leg done. Then I pick the top leg up, flip it over on top, and here I've got to line it up. Once again, I can feel the seam. I can put my hand under here too. I can feel the seam. Make sure there's no bumpy. It's going to be bumpy in here, so make sure you clean out all the rough wrinkles. I can feel this is way off here, so I'll pull it. You'd be amazed at how much you can feel when you try rubbing along this. Here, I don't know if you guys can see, but you can see the crease line here. I don't want that. I want that on the very edge, so I'll mush that until I get that on the edge. Here's a big wrinkle, so I can pull that out. Just the whole secret, you've got to just feel. Okay, and I'm taking a little more time because I'm showing you guys and why I take so much time. If you iron something in, a wrinkle in, it's almost impossible then to get it out. I mean, you can do it, but it just takes more work. Now, once again, I'm going out. I'm being a little bit more careful with this top leg because I've got 4 layers now that I'm dealing with. And so I'm just going out all the way down. See, I can see this crease here is not quite right, so I'm just pulling the leg over.
Oh, good grief. Okay, Lily, I'm having problems getting the link from YouTube. I don't know what it's doing. But, hold on, guys. Let me try. I don't know why the videos aren't pasting in here correctly. It makes me nuts when it does that. I don't know why. No. Okay. Go to YouTube and type in Living on a Dime. And that should get you there. And I'll keep working on trying to get a link for you guys. Go ahead, Mom. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, now I've got that part done. Now I'll flip the whole thing over. As you can see, I got a wrinkle right there that I didn't get out quite, but that's okay. I flip those over, and once again, I take this leg and flip it down. Now this goes much faster than the first one because this is already lined up, I can feel. This is pretty much in line. So this leg will go much faster. I have most of the wrinkles out. And then I can just go up into the crotch. Make sure you hit that center seam. Just kind of push out towards the crease. Now if you do get a double crease, just kind of take the iron, refold it, and kind of just press that one little area to get that double crease out. Okay, that leg's done. Flip it over once again. Now see, I've got a really heavy wrinkle here, so I'm going to really load it up with the water. Do this top. You can see the second side goes much faster. Make sure you don't just go back and forth. Whatever you do, don't go back and forth like this. Just kind of press it. And if you see there's wrinkling here, don't run down that way. Just think, okay, how can I smooth that? And I can see I need to go in that. What are you laughing at?
Debbie said, call Dave at tech support. Yeah, in the living room. Yeah. Pia wants to know, when do we do live streaming? We are trying to live stream every day at 12 p.m. Mountain Time in the United States. But all the videos will go on YouTube when we're done, and they'll stay on Facebook, so you can check both of those. Sometimes we have some difficulties with tech problems and that kind of thing, so it's not exactly at noon, but we try to do it around noon. So,
okay, we're done.
Wait, we're done?
We're done. There you go. And when you go to hang these, I like to use, this is one of my luxuries, is the felt hangers, because that keeps the wrinkle out on the pants. But I also like to use, I found them at the thrift store, the kind of hangers that clip onto here, not the wooden hangers, but just the small short clip hangers by the legs, because I don't know, you always get a wrinkle right in there. So that's why I like to just hang them on the clip hangers. And I can put 2 pairs of pants on one.
Or in my case, I get dust on there. Oops.
I failed as a mother. I failed.
Rough-Hewn Homestead said she can't wait to go buy a new iron with these tips. Great! Use our affiliate link, please. Let's see. All right, send us your questions, guys. I think we're done. Let's see. JJ's saying she's been enjoying our videos the last few days, and she loves our book, Penny Pinch Mama. Thank you. Pia wants to know if you have polyester in the fabric. High temperatures will make it shine. Hope that helped. Oh, someone must have been asking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have polyester or black fabric, sometimes black fabric, what you can use is a pressing cloth. And let me show you. I don't have one here. I have a flour sack dish towel that's just a lightweight dish towel. So you don't have to buy a special pressing cloth. You can. But I just use a really thin, lightweight, like I say, dish towel or something. And I'm going to pretend like this is my dish towel. You lay it on top. You get it all lined up and smooth. And it is a little bit harder, but you can still do it. You lay it on top of the black pants or the polyester, and then you iron on top of it, of the press cloth.
And make sure you have the right setting on your iron turned on.
Now, and for corduroy, I turn, and you can do this too for black. I do sometimes for very polyester pants. For corduroy polyester, you can turn them inside out, and I press this whole area exactly the same way, except I don't go over to where the crease. I just get up as close as I can to the edge. I just iron them inside out, turn them right side, and then at the last moment, if I want a crease in there, then I'll just do that little section of crease and do it like that.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? We'll wait about a minute or so and see if you do. I hope you enjoyed this.
Oh, don't leave the iron sitting on your shirt for 15 minutes to go answer the phone.
Why not?
Because it will scorch it.
Okay, guys, I think that's it. No more questions. Thank you for joining us today. And please check out livingonadime.com for more tips and ideas and recipes. And we will see you tomorrow, hopefully at noon Mountain Time.
Bye-bye.